The DePriest Tea Incident by Charles White. Oscar DePriest, a man of 60, enters his home, crosses to his desk, kisses his wife on the cheek.
Evening, dear.
How was your day, sweetheart?
Frustrating, about what you'd expect. Did it arrive? Mrs. Hoover requests the pleasure of the company of Mrs. DePriest on Wednesday afternoon, June 12th at 4 o'clock. This is wonderful. We have to celebrate. Give me a hug. Do you know what you're going to wear? Let me buy a new outfit at Garfinkel's.
Garfinkel's?
Mm-hmm.
Garfinkel's doesn't even allow colored people to try on clothes.
Oh, we'll see about that. I'll talk to the president.
Oscar.
Something wrong?
I'm not going.
What? We discussed this.
I'm not going.
Did something happen?
I really don't want to be bothered with a bunch of white women who don't want to be in my presence anyway.
Jessie, I'm sure Mrs. Hoover has taken care of that. We haven't seen the guest list, but this is the 4th tea party for the wives. She would not organize an event where you or anyone else would be uncomfortable.
I don't care. I don't want to go.
Jessie, you have to go. You understand what this means?
Do you understand what it could mean for your career? The Southerners in the House threatened to investigate your gambling connections into Chicago long before we even got here.
I was cleared of all charges and they knew it. Nothing happened.
Nothing? Nothing except the plan to block the swearing in of the entire Illinois delegation just to prevent that nigger DePriest from being seated.
We got around that. The speaker swore in all the state delegations at the same time. Smart maneuver.
That's my point. They had to maneuver the entire body of the House just to get you sworn in. What's going to happen if you dare introduce a piece of legislation?
That will be one of many hard-fought battles, but we can't let that stop us.
It's one thing or another. You know, that congressman from North Carolina already refused the office next to yours, and he's a Republican. And Mrs. Vestal, she tried to keep me out of the Congressional Wives Club. You expect me to have tea with her?
She won't be there. She went to one of the earlier parties.
I don't care. I don't want to be bothered with any of it. It's no fun for me, and it makes your life more difficult. I'm not going.
Jessie, these are just minor roadblocks. We're used to this stuff. We have to keep fighting for our rights.
I prefer to fight back in Chicago.
We'll be in Chicago often enough. I have to spend time with my constituents, but we're making some real progress here. You know how these battles go, one step at a time. This invitation is one of those steps.
Oscar, these people are hateful. Who knows what they'll try next? I don't want to see you swinging from a tree in our backyard. I am very politely declining.
No one is going to touch me. I gave speeches all over the South before I was elected to Congress and didn't get hung. It won't happen here in Washington.
You sure about that? That Senator Blease from South Carolina would string you up tomorrow if you looked at a library book written by a white woman.
That cracker's crazy. Everyone knows that.
He's dangerous, honey. And people listen to him.
Bob Moten met with the president of the White House last month, and no one organized a lynch mob. The white press didn't even cover it.
Bob is the president of Tuskegee.
So, a rope fits around his neck just as easily as mine.
He was at the White House on official business. A party is purely social, and it's an event designed for white women. You know how Southerners have to protect their helpless maidens.
If you were a man, I'd see your point.
Doesn't matter. My mere presence will soil the purity of delicate white womanhood.
Mrs. Hoover invited you personally. She sent a courier here with a handwritten note. I bet most of the white congressional wives didn't get that courtesy.
That's because they all get invited without question. And I'm the one who has to go through the service entrance. The service entrance, Oscar. I'm not putting up with that.
I think you underestimate Mrs. Hoover. She won't let that happen.
She won't get the chance to let that happen.
The First Lady is risking her social standing and the president's political career. You can't turn her down.
Lou Hoover is an intelligent, gracious woman, and I respect her tremendously. But she doesn't understand the consequences of what she's doing. I put a higher value on my husband's life and your career than I do on her precious social standing.
We are Republicans. It's an insult to the Republican president and the entire party if you turn down your first invitation in Washington.
It's not an insult if I'm not here.
Jesse, what are you doing?
I haven't seen Junior or my grandson since we moved here 2 months ago. Thought I'd spend a few days in Chicago.
No, don't do this now. Let me take this bag back upstairs.
Oscar,
Yeah?
will you take my bag to the car and ask Henry to drive me to Union Station?
You do this just to avoid the tea party.
And please, have this delivered to the White House.
Jesse, please.
Oscar, it's very lonely for me here. You're at the Capitol all day, and I don't have a single friend. The white people here treat me like I have the plague. I'll come back in a few days, but I have to get away.
Howard University is here, and there's some very nice Negro families in Washington.
Not in Congress. And that's who we meet.
Jesse, please, give this a chance. We'll make lots of friends here before you know it.
I'm going to Chicago.
I'm leaving here on your own.